Hi there, it's Ben Bowman from Food and Water Watch, and today we're going to be speaking to Bob Zales. Bob, would you just like to introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about catch shares?
Yes, I'm Bob Zales II. I'm Executive Director of the Conservation Cooperative of Gulf Fishermen. I'm also President of the National Association of Charter Boat Operators. And catch shares in both organizations, we're totally opposed to catch shares. Where we see catch shares going today is clearly the data that is out there that fisheries are based on the management, especially on the recreational side, is fatally flawed. And we don't understand why anybody would want to institute another program such as catch shares on fatally flawed data, because when that happens, you end up with a fatally flawed catch share system. So our objective is to get the money that's being proposed to be spent on catch shares move towards, let's get some science, let's get some good recreational data, let's get some good cooperative research and good independent research, looking at the possibility of independent stock assessments. Let's get a handle on where our fisheries really are. Then if, catch shares are still an issue, let's begin to look at them. But until that point, let's get our science straight first.
So Bob, tell us about how catch shares might affect some of your members, just average fishermen and people running commercial charter operators.
Well, what we see with catch shares, because in all the catch share programs that we've seen, they eliminate the fleet, they reduce capacity, and so we don't know how a charter fleet could benefit the public by having only a handful of charter boats that exist. You have to have boats out there, especially in recreational fishing. Recreational fishing is all about the opportunity to fish. You take that opportunity away, people don't go, and so we see serious problems with that. Number one, in the Gulf of Mexico, where I'm from, there are no records. There's no catch history, so there's been no and when we've asked for information, okay, well, how are you going to do this as the government? Well, support the system, and then we'll figure that out. And we're saying, well, no, tell us how it's going to work before we go there. And because we can't figure out how it would work. We don't know, if you're going to take 1,200 permitted boats and just give all of them equal shares, or you're going to give a multi-passenger boat the same amount of fish that a 6-passenger boat gets, nobody will answer that question. So if we can't get answers, we can't support anything. And that's primarily why we're opposed to this thing. And like I say, the key thing is the science and the data that's there. Currently is flawed, and we want to get that fixed, because we think if we can get real data, real honest science, transparent science, then we can see fisheries that will probably be in better shape than what the government feels that they are.
And lastly, Bob, how do you feel about congressional oversight hearings? We're at Food and Water Watch asking for Congress to take a good long look at catch shares and focus on the science and get these programs right. How does your organisation feel about that?
We would love to see that. We would love to see them do that. So, because clearly we need some oversight on this situation, because currently the mission of the government is to push this system on the public, which clearly you can hear the crowd. Fishermen in this country don't want catch shares. The communities that they live, they don't want catch shares. And, we're asking the question, the government's intending on spending $54 million to push a catch share. We're asking, well, if it's such a wonderful program, why have you got to spend that kind of money to convince people it's great? So, if it's a good thing, you don't need to spend that money. And apparently it's not a good thing, and so they're trying to force it on people, and we just don't see that that's the way the government needs to operate.
Thanks for your time, Bob. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thank you.